Something is awakening inside of Black women, a quiet but undeniable knowing that we're meant for more than survival, more than sacrifice, more than endurance, more than carrying everyone else's expectations while putting our own dreams on hold. A realization that the life we've been taught to accept may not be the life we're meant to live, and that there may be more freedom, more peace, more joy, and more possibility available to us than we've ever imagined. Because once you realize you have options, everything changes. Close your eyes and imagine living a life you love, unapologetic and unbothered, free from daily microaggressions from Karens and Kens, free from the fear of police brutality and systemic racism. Wouldn't that feel amazing? Now open your eyes. What if I told you that it's possible? Hear inspiring stories and get the actual blueprints from brothers and sisters of the diaspora who are living out their wildest dreams abroad. You've heard the term, now be inspired by the movement. I'm Krishan Wright, and this is Blaxit Global. Y'all, I am super excited for this episode of the Blaxit Global podcast. This next guest is someone who I found on the internets, watched through the socials and how amazing she is. And now I can be like, hey, now I know she's a homie. She is a wonderful, wonderful woman, brilliant business mind, awesome, awesome person all around, and great vibes. So who am I talking to, you might ask? I am talking about the Tracie Collins, who is joining me today from San Miguel de Allende.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's like when Krishan calls, I always answer.
Oh my gosh, I'm flattered. And look, the feeling is mutual. Tracie, I love getting to know people's backstory because I feel like all of those nuggets and journey steps are like little pebbles, little threads that kind of, weave together this wonderful tapestry of the life that you are experiencing today. So if you don't mind sharing with us, tell us a little bit about your backstory.
So yesterday I celebrated my 49th birthday, and I posted that I feel like I've lived 3 lifetimes in one. So it's like, well, which lifetime do you want? So I'm originally from the Bay Area. I coined myself in saying I'm from Oakland, California, because Oakland grew me. Like, it really made me who I am. And, I was able to really grow into I want to say the trajectory of the artist, the woman, the business person that I am. So when I say I'm from Oakland, it's because Oakland grew me. I received like my proclamation from the city of Oakland. So it's like, I can't, and it's different. Like, being from the Bay is like, that's so general. Like, in Oaklanders, we're not trying to mess with San Franciscans, and San Franciscans ain't trying to mess with Oaklanders. Okay. It's just a whole different vibe. And I have the tenacity and the attitude of like an Oakland girl. So needless to say, that is where I'm from. But I grew up single mom household. I'm the oldest of 3 children. I was a teen mom. I had my first when I was 17. She's now 31, and I'm still under 50 with a 31-year-old.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's like, I always like, I'm trying to look like your sister, not your mama.
I know that's right. You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job.
I'm up there moisturizing this morning. And it was hard. It was hard because I think, just like any other Black girl, young Black girl, any other young woman, you're trying to find yourself. And, being the oldest child of 3 and being, I was a latchkey kid. I'm Generation X. And I embody all of what we have, all the tenacity, the guts, you don't mess around and find out. Like, I'm from that generation. But and I had all of the struggles. I had, failed relationships and marriages, and it was like really like, who am I? And I started out and I thought that my life was going to be, I'm just going to catch babies. And so I went into the childbirth field when I was 24 after I had my second child. And so I had Kayla when I was 17, and I had Titus when I was 24. And I had Titus after I had a stillbirth on my 23rd birthday. Um, and so I always say, like, Taylor, which we named her, gave way for Titus. And so he's my only son, S-U-N. I call him my son and my S-U-N. And then I had Mahogany when I was 28, and still just kind of feeling like a fish out of water, even though I had my training and I, was in the birth world and, in moving really heavily into that healer space as a woman. I didn't come into like my business acumen until I want to say I hit 30, beautifully throughout, my journey. And I talk about this in my book, just like failed relationships. I talk about like just trying to find my way, being a struggling mom, trying to figure it out because there's no playbook. It doesn't matter how many books you read. It doesn't matter how many podcasts you listen to or how many YouTube videos you watch. Your life is your life. So you really have to begin to figure it out. But one of the things that I knew was that I was different. I wasn't like anyone, and still I'm not like anyone in my family. And I have a boldness about myself that a lot of people have tried to suppress because as Black women, we can't be too bold, boisterous, loud, or you're fast or you're doing too much. And so I struggled with that as well. And it wasn't until like my 30s that my business sense kind of came in. And I had like this, it was like a magnet, like, wait a minute, like, how do I perfect this? And there's really no perfection, it's just levels to it. And even still, like after being in the birth world for so long, and I took it to another level, and I found myself in spaces and places of being the only Black girl. And I always had a problem with that. Like I always have a problem with being the only Black girl. I always think that as Black women, I should be looking next to me and there should be a sister doing the same thing, if not better. Like I just believe that why aren't we sharing information? I don't believe in gatekeeping. And so that's why I try to, when people come to me, to work with them as far as like strategizing and building, businesses and how do we go about it. It's like I can help you enter a business and I can help you exit because that's a different kind of learning. So that's really the short end of like my story.
Wow. And it's impressive. Like, I can, as I'm listening and digesting what you shared, and thank you for being so transparent. It's, I'm listening to your journey, and, as someone who also raised two children on her own, it's very stressful. And you're right. There's like no playbook. And as you were becoming, your own woman, you also have this identity of mom. And
Mhm.
it's interesting how you were sharing, like, amongst your, three children that were birthed, as well as your child that was born, how you were a different person. And I feel like the mom I am with my daughter is different than the mom I am with my son,
Totally.
because I like, I was a new mom with him and more seasoned with her. And then as we're in this period of adulthood and we're getting to enhance this relationship. And as I was listening to you and your evolution, like even and coming to like the healing part and becoming a birthing practitioner, like what was it that led you down that path? Was it experiencing a stillbirth, or was there another journey step that kind of opened the door to you to that pathway?
No, it was a knowing. It was really a knowing. My experience with my stillbirth with Taylor, and it's so ironic, like it happens. Like, so every birthday that I have is literally the anniversary of that happening. And I didn't even think about that yesterday, but it wasn't that experience, but it was a knowing that like just I'm supposed to like catch babies, but it's become bigger than that. It's like it's not about just catching babies. And people say that's such a funny phrase, but in that world, when you come from like the world, I came from the world of midwifery, and I always say midwifery changed my life. Like I came into the world as a doula, then I transitioned into midwifery, and that was my intention. It was my intention to catch babies with my hands. And I did, and I caught babies, but I went back into the world of a doula, and that you know was for certain reasons, and those are two very different models and very different practices. People oftentimes they intertwine them, but they are very very separate. And so, but it was a knowing that I was a healer, and now as I'm older and I have learned more about myself, I've been the same person for many lifetimes. So that's where that knowing comes from. So when I tell you, it's like you have, your spirit that you're connected to that tells you, leads you, your intuitive guide, and you have this knowing. And I can't tell you how I know it. You're either gonna listen to me or you're not, but I'm right. And my kids will tell you that. Like my oldest was just talking about that yesterday. Mom is gonna be right. It's just gonna be up to us if we listen to her. And it's not from but it's even with a client aspect. So if a woman were to come to me and say, this is what's going on, and if I say this is what you need to do, but then they're like, well, how do you know that? And some things are factual and I can pull it up, or some things like, I know this is how it goes. And I think I know that's what made me so successful in that world, was because I'm not cheap. So if you're going to hire me and pay the money to afford me, then you need to listen to what I have to say. And I've had clients who were like, we should have listened to Tracie. And I'm like, well, I told you. And it's a knowing. And my career had gotten to the point of doctors would say, we're not moving until she says, and it was the weirdest thing, because you would think like you are the one who has all of that, technical education that, Western medicine says that you should have. But here you over here listening to some lay midwife who really, really knows. And so it was an interesting place to be in my career. And I'm grateful for the knowing. I just wish more people listened.
The reason why I found that so interesting, how you talked about the knowing and intuition, and I can see the connection to where you are in your life journey now. It's like women are conditioned to suppress that, even though it's our superpower, right? Everything around us tells us, like, if you do something that doesn't fit the model of what a girl should do, a woman should do, then it's always castigating it. Like, oh, you're acting like a boy, or, ladies don't do that. And all of these things that I think diminish your own internal GPS, your own God given intuition or higher power, however anyone languages or identifies with that. I
Mm-hmm.
think that as women, we have that intuitively, but we're taught to dismiss it. And when I think about like my own journey and how I've gotten to this place, it's been learning to listen to me more and others less.
Yeah, that's the patriarchal approach. When you remove the divine feminine from anything, it fails eventually. And it's more so like tapping into that energy and that level of knowing. We are not we as us, but society has suppressed that part because they understand the power of us listening to that, us listening to our God-given intuition and that being our superpower. But because of religion and patriarchy, and I can go down that rabbit hole, once you remove women from anything, it fails. And we are the creators, and Black women, we are the prototype. We are the epitome of. We are the Eve gene carriers. So, um, And I think when you have that sense of guidance and that deep connection, we have got to stop telling our daughters to go against their gut. Like if she doesn't feel anything, our sons too, but our daughters we're connected differently. Encourage them to lean more into that, because that's their defense mechanism. When anything is wrong in your life, you feel it in your gut first. Stop waiting for evidence, visual evidence. And I tell my children all the time, if it doesn't feel right, it's not right. Stop. Don't wait for it to be seen, because oftentimes it'll be too late. Act on that gut intuitive guide.
For you, as you evolved into this businesswoman and you successfully created a business as well as exited from a business in preparation for your move, like what got you to a point of wanting to look outside of the confines of the United States into a move abroad? Because as you shared your story, what I hadn't heard, and maybe we'll get to it, is earlier stints outside the country, constantly traveling, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've like taken a leap, right? And you're living your best life in San Miguel. So how did that intuition start to guide you in a different direction?
I didn't come from a family of travelers. I did not. My first exposure to traveling outside of the United States was my cousin. And after she graduated, she secured a teaching position in Dubai. And that was in 2013. So I didn't come from like anybody outside of her, like my mom or dad, or who was a passport holder. Like I didn't even know what that was. And so when my cousin, I think in 2012, when she left, I went to see her, and that was my first abroad experience. I got my passport. Who goes way across the world? Like it wasn't like down the street. I'm from California. I could have went to Mexico. Like I could have went to Canada. Oh, I took my black ass, sorry, but I took my butt way across the globe for my very first trip. And I had a long layover in London. I remember I flew from SFO to Heathrow, and that was like a 9-hour flight. And I had a long layover in London. So because of that, I decided to just go out into the city and explore. And when I tell you, and I can still hear it to this day, which is the most, to me, beautiful thing. I can hear the different languages around me, and it reminded me of New York, the different languages around me, but clean. Like New York is New York, everybody knows that. London was that, and seeing the double-decker buses and the Queen on the money, and it was that experience. And so when I went to Dubai and going to Abu Dhabi and going to the Grand Mosque, those were beautiful experiences that I would never want to do again, because to me, it's like once you go to Dubai, it's okay, I don't need to go back. But to go back to London or to hear that, it was like, that's why I tell people it just takes one time. And once you have that first thing. So in 2015 is the earliest that I could recollect that I knew I wanted to live outside of the country. I have no idea where that came from. There goes that knowing, but I knew that the United States was not. It didn't resonate with me. The only thing that resonated with me, Krishan, ironically, was in 2016. I had been going back and forth to Atlanta for a while from Oakland, and in 2016, when I left Oakland to go to Atlanta, part of the reason why I moved to Georgia was because I love the trees. The trees, if you know the trees, like in that part of the country, like they change colors with the season. They're just beautiful. You fly into Hartsfield-Jackson Airport and you see all of these trees. And I said, I must have died here, because why am I so connected to these? And I love I love me some trees. And so that was part of but that's the only connection that I have to that land. And I know it's deeper than what I know now at the current moment. So it's a deeper knowing, but I just don't know exactly what that is. But 2015 is when I started to go down the rabbit hole of living abroad. And I always thought it was going to be Costa Rica. And I'm a nature girl. I love nature. I love put me in the jungle. I just want to run naked in the jungle. That is my goal in life. How can I run naked in the jungle? And so I always thought it was gonna be, so I started going, just slowly going and exploring, like, as far as like information is concerned, Costa Rica. And what I started to do is I just started to transition my business online. I started meeting with clients online instead of always in person. Now, mind you, I'm still in the birth world. I'm still in the birth world actively seeing clients. But what I started to do slowly was I'm not meeting with you face to face for consultations. I'm not I'm not going outside of my house. I have to drive. I got to put on some clothes. I got to pay for parking. I got to pay for what, I'm not doing that. So I started, elevating my business model to where I started working online and meeting with clients online. And so by the time, fast forward to 2020, when everybody's trying to figure it out, I had been living in the online space I was like, y'all late. We've been doing this. So I was already there.
Which
And
is remarkable given, your career path. Like you
yeah,
said, it's like you're in the birthing world, but you were like, look, you know what? I have to put these steps into place because I want to future me. It's going to want to have a lot more freedom.
yeah,
And then unknowingly, right, that a global pandemic was going to force the entire world online in a short amount of time. And
right.
some people did get, some businesses, some people got caught off guard in terms of the pivot. Like, how do you then take your life and then move it completely online?
Hmm. And my company made the most money the year of the pandemic, like many online businesses did. Well, child, that's a whole nother lesson. But whew, and this is why I work with women in leadership. It's like, let me help you do things a certain way to protect your business and brand, because of certain lessons that I've learned along the way. But I started transitioning my business online back in 2015 when I started having that knowing that I wanted to leave the United States because I believe in time and location autonomy. I mean, I've been in the entrepreneurial world for over 2 decades. I don't believe in somebody telling me when I can go eat and where I can go to the bathroom and when I can take time off. No, I'm very capable of making my own money. I'm a brilliant woman. I'm an expert in what I do. So I'm going to monetize that. And so because of that, I wanted to be able to work from anywhere. I wanted to be able to take my laptop and work from anywhere.
And that's powerful because it's a connection with what you said earlier about being able to listen to your own intuition. You were like, oh, you know what? I have skills, I have abilities, and I'm going to
Mhm.
monetize them.
Mhm.
And when I think about the state of the US from a employee and even like a pipeline, right? We talk about, right, the school to prison industrial complex, but there's also this like, let's spit out these widgets that become worker bees, that become employees that are told what they're supposed to do. Like, you're supposed to put this, round peg into this round hole, and supposed to go to the next one, and you're supposed to keep going and going. And as a result, people often don't think outside of the box. They think their skills and abilities belong to their employer. And it's only if they're forced out that it's like, oh, it's the whole scary thing. What if I don't find another job? What if I do this? So when you talk to people about potentially becoming an entrepreneur or starting a side hustle and monetizing
Mhm.
their skills, gifts, abilities, it becomes that scary thing. And I think it goes back to the disallowing and disavowing your internal voice.
Yeah, and the school system just limits people's creativity. Um, to me, the school system has done everybody, the American school system has done everybody such a disservice because it teaches you to have linear thinking. But we're created by a creator to create, right? So, with that being said, you can create anything. Like, and so when you are pregnant, you should be pregnant with ideas. You should be pregnant with businesses. You should be pregnant with things that bring you joy. And so how do you be able to in the land space of like my ideas, how can that amplify somebody else's life? Because really that's what entrepreneurship is, business ownership is. How can I make your life better? How can this product or service, answer whatever desire it is that you're seeking, right? So with that being said, it's like you're answering a call, but you have to understand what zone of genius are you operating in, and what do you bring to the table? Where are your strongest skill sets that you can monetize on? And then how to find your target demographic that needs you and deserves you and then can afford you.
We'll be right back.
Building a life overseas is about more than just choosing a country. It's about choosing yourself. That's why I created our newest guide, 7 Questions Every Black Woman Should Ask Herself Before Building a Life Overseas. Get your free copy through the link in this episode or visit blaxitglobal.com. And that is the missing link, right? So hopefully those that are listening just realize that they got a primer in terms of business positioning and, thinking about yourself as a product, right? And thinking about your end customer. So for you, you talked about the pandemic kind of accelerated your business, but in some ways I would think like your timeline in terms of making that move. And originally it was Costa Rica, and now we're having this conversation with you in SMA. So what brought that on?
Child, Mexico. It was like, girl, where you been all my life?
Wow.
So Mexico caught me off guard. It did. Like when you are from California, you really not thinking about your Latin cousins down the street or your Hispanic cousins down the street. You're not. You're not. And let me say this too. The Mexican Americans are very different from the Mexican people in Mexico. And the Mexican Americans who live in the States often assimilate to whiteness because they feel like that's going to be whatever the closest proximity that it's going to give me what I, came here for, the American dream, which we know as Black people that's, delusional, or that's a lie, and that's not the case. But oftentimes people don't understand that outside of us. When we're telling them that that's incorrect, they don't believe it until somebody else of a lighter hue experiences and says it. But so, it was the time, I think it was 2021, let me say it like this. So 2021, I got married in 2021, and in 20, it's like that's when everyone was going to Tulum, right? And so Honey and I decided to go to Costa Rica for our honeymoon, but we met our honeymoon in June of 2022. We got married October of 2021. Right? So, and all this time I'm looking on like Instagram, I'm like, why is everybody going to Mexico? Like, what is the big deal? Like, what is it? This is not making any sense. Like, why is everybody going to Mexico? And so a good friend of mine, who's still a good friend of mine today, and social media is powerful because representation and marketing through that way is powerful. And so she says to me, Tracie, you really need to go. She says, you need to go to Playa, or you need to go there. You just have to go. It's like, okay, so being in Atlanta at that time, I moved to Atlanta in 2016. So this is like 2021, 2022. I decided to like give myself a Mother's Day trip to Mexico, to Tulum specifically. And I took my youngest with me. When I landed in Cancun and our shuttle guy picked us up, and I saw him carrying my fuchsia pink duffel bag, and leather is really cute because I'm a girly girl like that. That was the moment. And seeing him carry my stuff was my first taste of being treated well, just because I existed. Now, mind you, of course, he was hired to drive me and pay, but I'm used to, mind you, I'm a single, previously was a single mom doing things for myself outside of my family helping me, but like not wanting anything else outside of that from me. And so when that just the smallest thing really resonated. And so when I experienced the beauty of, and still to this day, Mexico has 32 states, and Quintana Roo, I've been throughout all of Quintana Roo, which is Cancun, Playa, Tulum, now Bacalar. I've been to, the major part within the Puerto Aventuras, Puerto Morelos, and I still think Quintana Roo is one of the most beautiful states because you have the Caribbean Sea in the country. But I got to experience just ease in a different way. Like nobody is tripping that I'm Black. If anything, people are coming up to us and saying how beautiful you are. And they're looking at myself and my daughter, and they're just like, oh, you guys are so beautiful. And they're kind. People in the States don't have the luxury, it seems like, to be kind because we have so many things that we're worried about: survival and safety, healthcare, food equity. There's all kind of things that we're trying to figure out or trying to protect ourselves from. But people who are kind, just because. And from that moment on, I was like, it was just embedded into my head. So 3 weeks after we had returned from Mexico, Honey and I were scheduled to go to Costa Rica. We went on our honeymoon. But when I tell you 2 weeks later, my Black ass was back in Mexico, it was Exodus Summit. And that was when I first came upon them. And that was the Cancun meetup. And so I had met Stephanie and Rashida then. But I was like, where are these Black women coming from leaving the United States? How did I miss that? Wait a minute, what? So I felt like this is what's going on. But I had already knew at that point I wanted to leave. Like once I experienced Mexico for the very first time, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna live here. I already knew. And my youngest, she looked at me and she said, so you're moving to Mexico, Mom? And my kids know I'm gonna do what I say. So I don't know why she questioned me. And so even when we went to Costa Rica, I love Costa Rica. I think it's beautiful. It's because of the nature. But the not to bash folks from Costa Rica, but they're different from the Mexican people. Mexican people are extremely hospitable. Like when you experience true Mexican culture, it seems like all they want to do is feed you, hug you, and share their culture with you. That's it. They want to share their culture. They want to know more about you. They want to feed you. They want to hug you. They just want to embrace you.
Oh, I think I might have to move. Not that the Portuguese are hospitable and I'm having the time of my life, but I like, being treated well. And I love going to places where I can experience that because as a Black woman in America, I don't think we experience it enough.
We don't. We're so unsafe. We are unsafe in a lot of realms, just existing in the United States. But with Black women, it's also like I came from the birth world. So I know what it means to be in a healthcare system that discriminates actively against you, like it is embedded in the textbooks and in the psyche and in the culture of Western medicine. So I was like, I can't do this no more. That was also part of the reason of like my exiting of my company. I was like, I never built this company for Tracie, ever. It was for other Black and brown women, primarily Black women, to be able to survive. Not only amplify yourself as a birthing professional, but if you are coming in as a patient, how do you navigate that structure and that system that has literally been set up against you because of slavery? Like our bodies were used as specimens for surgery without anesthesia. So like it is designed against you. And, Black women still die to this day as a result.
Yeah, Black women, Black babies. And I don't think that it's talked about enough the inhumane conditions that many of our ancestors experienced.
No.
C-sections were perfected on
Yeah.
Black women, as you said, without anesthesia. And even fast forward to present day, we still have a very high Black infant mortality rate. We still have a very high maternal mortality rate among Black women, and it shouldn't be the case. We're still told that when we're in pain, it's being dismissed. It's often misdiagnosed, regardless whether it's related to childbirth, reproduction, or something else, right? And this perception that we have a higher pain tolerance and pain threshold, like all of these things, which are vestiges of slavery, which are medical junk, but still are in medical books to this day, even though it's been debunked. And so I can totally empathize and relate to you wanting to rid yourself from that. How did you overcome the talk track that is the US propaganda machine of why are you going to Mexico? Like, they trying to get over here. Why are you going to Mexico? Don't you worry about the cartel? Why are you going to Mexico? Like, all of the negative stereotypes that are constantly perpetuated amongst Americans about our brothers and sisters in Mexico, and not about how Mexico really was helpful in being a safe haven for Black people who were escaping racism and slavery in the United States. I think there, like you said earlier about the education system, there's a huge disservice that's being perpetuated in America about our history and even our collective history. So how did you overcome?
They lied about us. So of course they're gonna lie about them. Like they did. I kept taking my Black butt back to Mexico. And I kept learning and experiencing different parts of the country and experiencing different people in the different regions of the country. And from May of 2022 till February of 2023, Honey and I took, I think, 3 to 4 different scouting trips back and forth into the country and experiencing a place each and every time that was different from the previous. So they lied about us. Why in the hell would I believe them about anything else? And then when you get to experience the richness of the culture, oh, child. But to get to experience like the different places, like in the Yucatan Peninsula in Merida, like the how they are still really aligned with the Mayan Aztec culture, and the cuisine is really dedicated to that time, and how the stature of the people are shorter because they're more in alignment with the Mayan Aztec indigenous people. But then when you go up to Guadalajara, you got these tall Spaniards there because Mexico was colonized, and the men are just like beautiful. It's like, well, wait a minute. So you get to see things differently in Guadalajara. I was talking to somebody about Guadalajara the other day, and how the people are, oh my God, they remind me, when I first came to San Miguel, the people reminded me of the people in Guadalajara because they are some of the most nicest people. Oh my God. But Guadalajara also has an energy that's like, well, wait a minute. You can feel the energy in Guadalajara that will make you think it's going like, okay, the cartel's going to show up any minute. Like, it's just different. And then you'll eat yourself sick in Guadalajara because the food is amazing. And then there's Tlaquepaque. I just started experiencing different parts of Mexico and the people, and it just made me fall deeper and deeper and deeper in love with the country. And so, and I'm from California, and I can't live nowhere where I don't like the food. And I grew up on Mexican food. Like, I grew up on eating Mexican food from Mexican people. And so Mexican food is my first cuisine that I mean, I like soul food. That's number 2, but Mexican food is my favorite cuisine. And so it was just, I look back over my years, and my oldest is half Mexican. So it's like, I don't know if I was Mexican in my previous life or what. I have no idea. I know I was indigenous of some sort, but I don't know from where. But it became my love language. It became where I'm comfortable. It became where I can walk outside and people just speak to me because I'm human. They don't run away from me. They don't not want to talk to me. They don't discriminate against me. Now, I'd be lying if I say, if I didn't experience some sort of like, what are you doing? And that was in Mexico City. Like, they followed us around Walmart, which was the weirdest thing. Like, why are you following me? When I compare the level of what I experienced in the States versus here, There is no comparison. We're treated like normal people, which we are. And Black people, we just want to live a safe, healthy, peaceful life. Just leave us alone. That's it. That's really all we want. And Mexico allows for that because it is a safe haven, and it has been a safe haven. And I've learned that. But I don't want to be remiss in talking about the Afro-Mexican people who not until 2020, 2021, when AMLO recognized them as indigenous Mexicans. So we have to give, credit and honor to the indigenous Afro-Mexican community that live on the coast of, Costa Chica and Guerrero, and then also coast of Oaxaca. But for Black Americans, it has always been a safe haven.
I love that. And it just piqued my curiosity even more about Mexico, hearing you talk about it, because my listeners don't have the benefit of seeing you, but I see you light up as you're talking about it. So how'd you get to SMA?
So when we sold everything in 2023, and Honey loves Mexico City, and she even had an astrocartography done, which is like a chart reading of where you should live in the world, where you can best thrive. So mine just so happens to be in Zihuatanejo, which is in Guerrero. Well, both of ours are Mexico, which is interesting, but hers is Mexico City. And so I was like, I don't care, because whatever we can do to get you out of the States and get us out of the States, because she wasn't as convinced about leaving as I knew I needed, as I was. And so we decided to go to Mexico City. We thought it was going to be the place. And we had, spent a month there previously on our scouting trip. So, we were like, okay. And then we get to Mexico City, August 19th of 2023 through October 15th. And when I tell you they would not rent to us, it was so hard for us to find a place to live. And we were like, it's not the money. We have everything. But they started asking requirements of us that were not normal, meaning like, are you married? Are you legally married? What's your US credit score? And we're like, here's a screenshot. And then it got deeper. They said at one point they asked for a prenup. It just got really, really crazy. And so our realtor, Letty, she was like, and she was Mexican. She was like, I have never had this happen. And she's like, and so we had tried for 2 months the process of 3 different places. And the final one was, we kept being told we got it, because in Mexico the process is different. You don't have to do the whole thing like you do in the States. But about 2 hours before we were supposed to go sign the lease on the final property, then they come back to us, or the owner comes back to our realtor and says, well, we need a guarantor from them, which is somebody who lives in the country, who owns property mortgage free, and they have to be Mexican. And so at that point, I was like, forget this. Because we had started to mentally decline. Like, our daughter, who was with us at the time, our youngest, she just started to just stay in a dark room and get depressed and not want to be outside. Honey and I were we were just so over it. And that was on a Tuesday that happened, that we were supposed to sign that lease. By Thursday, I said, we're leaving. We're leaving. And I remember this, like, Honey was asleep, and I sat up in the bed. And mind you, we had been spending money on Airbnbs, and it was getting so expensive. It was already so expensive. And so I remember posting in a Facebook group, and I listed everything. And one person was a guy, I think it was a white guy, but what he said really resonated. He said, you guys have the one thing, the combination of the one thing that will make them discriminate against you, a Black lesbian couple in Mexico City. And specifically, because that's where we were. He says the one thing. And when he said that, and we had already been thinking about it, he said, like, the one thing in this very religious Catholic country. And so I sat with that. And he wasn't saying it when the way he wrote it, it wasn't to be mean. It was more like, a real significant awakening or an epiphany,
Mm-hmm.
something that we had already knew, but to hear it or to see it written externally. So then I was like, we're going either to Puerto Vallarta, because I have a friend in Puerto Vallarta, or San Miguel. Now, mind you, we had 9 suitcases, a dog, or 3 of us. We had so much stuff with us. And I was like, I don't want to get on another plane and have to pay for that level of luggage with us, even though the flight would have been short. Like, I don't want to have to pay for that. And the hurricane was coming through Puerto Vallarta at the same time. I said, or we're going to go to SMA. We had never been there. We had been to Puerto Vallarta before. I said, or we're going to go to San Miguel. It was 3 hours away, and we could hire a private driver to take us. And so by that Sunday, we were on our way. We like that Friday, I think we secured our Airbnb here in San Miguel. And just to tell you how it started off, we reached out to the person, the Airbnb, we messaged them offline, and we were able to work out a deal to stay there for I think 6 weeks, just to kind of secure everything so the fees would be less. And so by that Sunday, we were in San Miguel, and it has been that way ever since. It has been easy ever since.
I'm thinking about the pink bag and you embracing ease, right? Fast forward to having that moment in SMA, you're just like, oh, wait, this is very different than the energy and the drama of Mexico City.
Mhm.
Like, this is where we need to be. Like, what is it like to be in a place of ease now, right? You've distanced yourself from the United States. You have the physical distance, and then you have this new life that you and Honey are experiencing together. What is that like?
It's when I tell you we would not be experiencing this level of community and love had we not left. And I don't know, it's like you can get fresh chicken cut up and delivered to your door. Like I can text the guy and be like, I need 24 wings, the whole wing. And it's like they're freshly cut with feathers, like I still gotta pluck feathers out. Like it's like that kind of, and the community that we have are our family. Like they are our family. And with yesterday being my birthday and just kind of looking at, everybody that Honey had arranged to meet us for our dinner or the birthday dinner, and seeing like Danielle and Elton and Michelle and like Bobby and Alum and Jean and say like Dee, like it would, that's who, like those are like good, bad, or indifferent, whatever, like that's my family. And had we not left, we would not have it. We would not have our brothers and our sisters and our family and Alex and Ellen. Like we would not have it. And just to have such a full experience and your heart be so full, and like having like fresh donuts delivered because Honey had that delivered because I love like these certain donuts. Like it's like that kind of stuff. It's like you would think like this, like that was a big deal. Like no, those are like big deals. Like the smallest things become like the biggest deals that make you feel so full. I told Michelle, I text Michelle this morning. I don't even know if she's seen it. I haven't checked my messages. I said, girl, I will fight somebody for you. It's like you see, yeah, she has Casa Elm, but I know Michelle differently. And I never would have thunk that we would have created this level of connection, but I would not have experienced it had we not left, had we have not taken a chance.
You mentioned Michelle, who's been a guest on the podcast before, and you all have gotten to know each other, business, personal, and have some collaborations that you've had today or
Mhm.
coming down the pike. So, how has being in SMA like opened the door to even what you spoke about earlier, being able to expand your creativity in different directions?
When I sold my company, I knew that I did not want to deal with the level of us dying or being in a place of not thriving. And so it is now my intention and my purpose to work with us where we are thriving and where we are winning and winning on so many different levels. One of the things that I will say about us here, us Black women, my enclave, we are some business women. And it's so good because not only are we have business acumen, but we have each and every one of us have different industries of our focus. Like we're experts in our own lanes. Like nobody, it seems like it's overlapping, which is interesting. So we have our respective lanes to be able to be in community with women who you can brainstorm, or you can have a think tank, or you can, come up with ideas and strategies, and you can really exercise your strengths and they can too. And it's okay to have each other shine. It's like, that is what I wanted. I wanted to be able to, like the Black women community that I have now is the Black women community that I prayed for. And that was really important to me. And so to be able to experience it, sometimes I look at them in awe. Like I just be looking at, like, look at God. It's more like that. It's like, I look at it and I look at like how, Honey has her group, and she's in the guys chat, like we call them the husbands of SMA. Like they have their own chat, like she's in there, and we in our own. It's just, but it's separate but collective, and yeah, and we're each other's cheerleader. There's no competition. Like I'm not competitive against another woman, period, anyway. But we are each other's cheerleader. So it's just been a beautiful, beautiful experience. Like when I think about Michelle and her being here 6 years, and Michelle has the hostess gene. Like if you were to come here, I look at her, I'm like, girl, I can never do what you do. She just does it on a whole different level. It's like, I could never, but she has a certain gift, but she's turned that gift into her business, which is what you should do. And I tell her, I'm like, Michelle, you got these people fooled, because you're gonna have everybody want to come and stay in Casa M, and they think that, okay, I'm gonna live here, my life is gonna be like what I'm experiencing at Casa M. But you have to create your own, Casa M with it once you relocate. I was like, you be having these people in a hypnotizing these folks. Like it's just gonna, she has that. And I just look at her and just seeing how she does that with grace. It's just something beautiful to experience, to be able to see us evolve and have our dreams realized in a different way, because the barrier to entry is not what it is in the United States.
I started this podcast when I was stateside many years before I actually made the physical move. And now being on the, proverbial other side, it's this feeling of evolution, amplification, elevation. And it is so rewarding to see others who have been on the journey longer, who are just having their moments of awakening, to having that break free and that taste of freedom. And so being in an environment where you can thrive and you're around others that are experiencing that same thing, it's like you just want that for everybody.
Yeah. You do. They have to want it more for themselves. And I understand, like, not everybody can or not everybody wants to. I understand that. And sometimes people are scared because they are accustomed to being or experiencing the devil that they know. Just take a chance. Just go and see. Like, just go and see. Just see. You can always go back if you want to. I think people should always bet on themselves. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. So I bet on myself every day. If I don't, I can't put a key in the door. If I don't, I can't go to the grocery store and go grocery shopping. If I don't, I can't turn on a light switch. So I'm used to betting on myself. But for people who aren't, I understand that it can be more challenging. But then there are people like you or myself or others who have done it before them. So everybody can't be wrong either who's done it.
That is so true, because I say, I've survived 100% of my best and worst days. The
Yeah.
days where I didn't think there was a way out or a path forward or a light at the end of the tunnel, but still there was a way that was made out of no way, right? And so I think for people who are caught in that, conundrum as to whether or not they can do it, maybe they want to do it, but are filled with all of the doubts, which are normal, right? But or the exceptions, which are also veiled excuses in some respects. It's like you said, bet on yourself. Bet on yourself. Do the scary thing, because society will always reinforce that you were nothing, you are nothing without it, right? Like, oh, you are nothing without this job, without this money, without this. And it's
Right.
like, at the end of the day, like if you get back to who you were before everyone told you who you aren't or weren't in their mind, because the
Mhm.
person who's telling you that, it's to serve them, right?
Yeah, they're projecting. Mhm.
Exactly. The sooner you realize that the person that's telling you, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that, they benefit from the
Yeah.
doubt. That's the seed that's planted, right? Your job is not to let it germinate.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just had this tenacity about myself. And I appreciate that. Like that part that they said, Tracie always, her mouth is smart. Yeah, I'm a smart ass. Like that's just me, whatever, but it's also that part of me that gives me the gumption. It's that part of me that that has always been there. And I think it's important that you tap into that and don't tell everybody. Do your research, do your due diligence, lean into that, because if your spirit is telling you something, it's telling you because it needs to come to fruition. It's there for a reason. It's there for you to discover and embark upon. Not everybody can handle that because number one, they don't deserve to know. And number two is not everybody has the capacity to understand, because they are projecting. But I will say this, had I not, my life would not be as enriched as it is today. Like, had
Mm.
I not, I wouldn't trade this for nothing in the world. I wouldn't. I would not. If I got to go further south, then I'll do that. But go north? Oh, no,
Never.
never. Mm-mm.
Wow. I love it. I love it. On that note,
Mhm.
I think we can end here. Well, it is and it has been an absolute pleasure having you
Thank
as a guest. And for people who are enamored as I am with all things Tracie, like
you.
tell the good people how they can connect, how they can find you, all the things.
They can find me on social media, Tracie Collins, which is TraciecieCollins. And my website is traciecollinsofficial.com. But if you just type in Google Tracie Collins, I will show up on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. My company will show up. I am everywhere.
You are, and now you are here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, thank you for accepting the invitation. And I'm so glad, so happy that we were able to do this. And I look forward to seeing you soon in person.
Yes, yes. We are proclaiming that for 2025, one continent or another.
Thank you for listening to the Blaxit Global Podcast. For more information on today's episode, be sure to visit our website at blaxitglobal.com. It's not only possible to live out your dreams unbothered and in full color, it is your birthright. This episode of the Blaxit Global Podcast is sponsored by Blaxit Global Passport. At some point, the question stops being, can I move abroad? And becomes, what's possible for my life? Passport is where Black women from around the world come together to explore new possibilities, navigate life abroad, and create lives that feel bigger than the ones they were told to settle for. Because the goal was never just to move. The goal is to expand what feels possible. Visit blaxitglobal.com and click community to begin your next chapter.